Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, maybe even good evening. Welcome to the Growth Talk with Glenn, where we dive deep into the mechanical performance and revenue growth in the business world. Today, I am thrilled to have a fellow business partner, a fellow 10X business coach, Satori Mateu, on the show, also known as the Billionaire Business Advisor. Satori has a track record in leadership, engineer, and helping businesses achieve 100% increase in performance and revenue. Satori, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate it. Love to be here. This is amazing. I love it.
Thank you for the opportunity, for the time, and for the knowledge that you're going to be sharing with us today and the audience. Satori, if you don't mind, who are you? What is that you do? Who do you help? And how do you help?
Great question. Well, I mean, we all have our stories, right? We all have our backgrounds, our stories, and mine, probably not much different, but different in a way, right? We all have our unique paths. So literally, when my mom, she was 16 years old, and she was expecting me when she was 16.
Wow.
And she was literally on the abortion table, and my Spanish little grandma walked into the room and told my mom, "Hey, honey, you don't have to do this. You can go home." And that moment, I think has shaped my path. Wow. Because in multiple ways, and I think it will come very clear as we talk about it. So when I was born, because my mom was so young, she was terrified that her dad, that was an Italian Catholic, and my grandpa, my dad's dad. I don't know what I said right now. My dad, he was Spanish. Uh-huh. And at that time, in the 70s, the Italians and Spanish people, they didn't really click together. They were all like smacking each other, right? So she was terrified to tell her dad that she was pregnant, number one. And number two, she wasn't married. So they had to get married while I was still in the belly. But anyway, when I came out, I got to hear many times that my mom said, I would have had a different life. My life would have been so much better if I didn't have you. And so with that in mind, as a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, I don't know how old I was, but hearing that kind of stuff, it had me question my worth.
Wow.
And if you think about your worth as a human being, and you keep questioning your worth, whether you're supposed to be here or not, you kind of question your existence.
Wow.
And as I grew up, I was very curious. I was very curious to understand, because I noticed that I did everything I could to please people, right? To make everybody happy. And I remember, I didn't think about it back then, but when looking back and seeing my patterns, it was like I was walking around on eggshells, making sure that I didn't piss anyone off.
Wow.
Right? And so when you think about that, as you grow up, and you start seeing like where else am I doing that? I started doing that in intimate relationships, right? Tippy-toeing, being careful. And when I got into business, I moved from Sweden. I was born in Stockholm in Sweden, and I moved to the United States when I was 23 years old. Mm-hmm. And in 9 months, I became a world champion in karate. I trained martial arts since I was a little kid, and I opened some martial arts schools. And I noticed the pattern was following me.
Wow.
And no matter how much I pushed, no matter how much I succeeded, no matter how much, accolades and much money I made, there was always something missing. And the feeling of like not being good enough. And when I started, so at that time, when I was a world champion and teaching kids, families, all kinds of, ages, a lot of people came to me. There was in Santa Monica. So a lot of businesses in Santa Monica, a lot of CEOs, MTV was there, like a lot of different businesses was there. And they came to train with me. And at that time, I also met Tony Robbins, and I started working with him. And when I saw him the first time, I thought, wow, this is what I want to be doing, right? Being on stage, training, coaching, doing all kind of stuff. And what I noticed that when these customers came to me and I realized they didn't come to me to learn how to kick and punch. They came to change their mindset. They came to change inside something.
Through martial arts.
Yes. All right. And then I realized all these athletes and CEOs and business owners, they had the same patterns. Something was missing. No matter how much they pushed, no matter how much success they had, there was never enough. And I recognized that pattern, and I thought there's something here. I got to figure out what this is. And I really delved deep into understanding the depths of these patterns. And that was kind of got me on this path of working with high performers, seeing that there are these patterns of, there's many ways you can call them many things, but one of the things in the pattern is a pattern of not perceiving, not that it's true, but the perception of not being loved, the perception of not being enough. And so no matter how much you push, like one of my clients, he's one of the fastest men on the planet. Like any man that has ever been on this planet, he's one of the fastest men that ever walked this planet or run this planet, right? And he said to me, I hate running. I hate it. And I'm like, okay, I can hear that. I hear that. He said, but I learned that was the only time when I could get my parents to come and watch me at the same time.
Wow.
And that was the only time I could hear from my dad, I'm proud of you.
Wow.
And so you start seeing these patterns, and I realized after working with thousands of people from all walks of life, that these patterns are so deep. And we chasing the money, we're chasing the significance, we're chasing the success as a way to also buy and exchange love and appreciation. What most business owners would never call it that. They would probably say, I want the respect, right? I want the success,
the recognition.
Recognition, right? So, but I can see the pattern. And so that's became part of my mission, is to be able to see, because it happens in all businesses. And what I've noticed after working with businesses all around is that there are certain pieces that always follow. And of course, and you know this really well, is mindset, right? If you don't have the right mindset, but it's a word that can be sometimes very overused, right? The word mindset. Everybody talks about it. You got to have the right mindset, but what does that really mean?
Yeah.
And what I look at is that if this is balance, if you're watching this right now, you can see my hands. If you're listening to it, you don't see it, but I'm holding my hands like in a on the same level. If this is balance, then this is imbalance.
Yeah.
Whether it goes this way or go this way. And so what I looked at is that it's a perception of more loss than gain, more feelings of pain than pleasure, more of an experience that there's more drawbacks than benefits, more challenge than support. And when we perceive this misalignments or misperceptions, our mindset goes into lack. And so part of the job of the work is to balance up perceptions, because in reality, there's no more gain than loss. There's nothing more positive than negative. There's nothing more, benefits than drawbacks. There are no drawbacks without benefits, or no benefits without drawbacks. They're all equal in proportion. But we have the ability to perceptualize it to being imbalanced. That makes sense?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, like, when was that turning point? That it shifted you from that personal struggle that you were going through to becoming a top Business Advisor. When did that happen?
Great question. I think that the turning point for myself, I realized, I was taking a lot of courses, trainings about business growth, and and at that time, I was very focused in the relationship space, communication space. And a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners came to me and they asked me, how can you charge so much in the niche of relationships and communication? And it was interesting because I looked at it as that I needed to question my own worth, and I needed to see where I was. And I started to challenge my own worth and seeing the benefits, seeing, the more I can add benefits to what I was doing, the more I could see that my worth was going up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting. One of my mentors, after having worked with Tony Robbins for many years, there was a perception of, always be up, never be down,
Mm-hmm.
always be happy, never be sad. Always, it was the illusion of always showing this happy face,
Yeah.
and try to hide the other side.
Mm.
But both sides are always going to be there.
Yeah.
And it was such a release for myself when I realized, instead of trying to be, it was an insight that I've been living like a victim, victimizing myself for years.
Wow.
And so when I saw the difference and I saw this, it was like, holy shit, like I woke up and I saw that the victimhood mentality is everywhere, right? In so many ways, we hear it, we can see it, but it's so hidden that when we don't recognize it because we don't see it, because it's so common,
Mm-hmm.
we don't hear it. But just a quick definition of what I see as victimhood is that people talk about it when something is not happening for you the way you want it to happen, or something is happening, we perceive it's happening to me, right? We start blaming, we start not taking ownership, we don't take responsibility, we criticize, we blame, we give something or someone responsibility for our flaws and our mistakes and our, right?
Instead of owning it.
Yes.
Wow.
So I realized that I've been living like that in my head, minimizing myself. And when I saw that, it really shifted everything, because I could see the victimhood in so many different patterns. And that started to shift the trajectory, the direction, because now when I heard people say, it's too hard, I can't, build the business, I don't have the clients, what, Glenn, is the climate, it's the financial climate right now. Oh, if you don't understand, I really get bad leads. Oh, no, you don't understand, my clients are horrible. And I started hearing all these complaints. And it was fascinating to hear it, because now I had started to recognize it. And that's when the focus on shifting mindsets was a big portion of it. But then I realized, okay, you have mindset. That's one of our pillars that we work with.
Mm-hmm.
But the second pillar that I looked at is that when you have open loops, and your mindset is now, you're not thinking big enough, or you're blaming, you're living in victimhood, it impacts your energy.
Mm.
I don't know about you, but there's maybe certain days when you feel like your brain is on fire, you're present, you have you're there.
Yeah.
And then maybe other days when your brain is like a little bit foggy, a little bit brain fog.
Yeah.
And you're not as clear, you're not as present.
Yeah.
And you realize that energy, like if I could double my energy, and I realized how connected the energy is to my open thought loops. And so when I saw that, I said, wow, if there's friction, incongruencies
Mm-hmm.
in my thoughts, it's gonna have a direct impact on my physiology.
Wow.
Right? My brain is going to be impacted, which means I'm going to be not present with my family. I'm not going to be present with my kids. I'm going to be maybe snap at my customers. I'm not going to be closing deals the way I could be doing, right? And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then we realized, hey, when it comes to people in the workspace, people that are disengaged, right? They hate their jobs and they're just going to work just to, get their paycheck, just, and I'm like, what's disengagement about?
Mm.
And I saw, okay, well, you have the mindset, you have the energy. Well, if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have the right energy, of course, you're going to go to work being disengaged. And then I thought, well, you've heard this thing about values. And then I realized, oh, okay. Well, first of all, people don't go to work to fulfill your values. They go to work to fulfill on their own values.
Yeah.
And then that thing came in again about the perceptions. And I realized, wow, if people don't see, meaning perceive and understand how their personal values and goals and their targets in life can be fulfilled through the business,
Yeah.
then the business becomes in the way rather than on the way.
Wow.
And they become victims to the business. So then what are you going to do? They're going to blame the boss. They're going to blame their position. They're going to hate the activities. They're not going to like picking up the phone, right? And so now they become victims to the business. So they go to work being resentful and pissed off.
That's crazy. For 30 years. Some people do that for 30 years.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
That's wild. Satori, can you share a specific case where your principles, right, what you're talking about right now, contributed to a client 100% revenue increase?
Yes. Great question. So I have a client that we worked with not that long ago. He works in what he does. This is actually a great example of it. He works with, probably maybe hard for people to understand, but I'm just going to simplify it right now. He works in being able to measure buildings. So they have drones and they measure the interior of buildings. So when an architect comes in, they know everything in that building.
Wow.
Right? So this guy has been in this business for 10 years. In the beginning, they didn't have drones. They were measuring everything, by hand. But then the more technology comes along, the faster it can go. And so what happened was that as you're measuring things, you can do it with better equipment, you can do it faster. Now, the mindset was, because his son was building the business with him.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was building the business with him, the son, coming back to everything that we talked about, felt the pressure to be able to fill the shoes of his father.
Mm.
Right? He wanted to take over the company one day. And the father, the business owner, his wife is on his neck saying, hey, when are you going to retire? When are you going to retire? And so there's this pressure. So he burns out. The son burns out. He hits the wall, burns out, which is like a mindset thing, right? He burns out and, sorry, I'm going to just make sure that we don't get disrupted here. I heard that. There we go. He goes into this place where his mind is not there. He's not present. And so I speak to the father and I say, what's going on? Like, and I already worked with them previously on a personal level, but now we start working on the business, and they were making about 6 million, and they want to go to 12 million.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, so in order to let's start thinking about how we're going to do this. He already had 6 employees, and I said, right now you probably could have built the business, have the business grow even more, even just you and your son, but you have 6 people working. You have a team of 6 people. Now, how can we optimize these people? So we had to start thinking about, because the thinking was minimized. Mm-hmm. And he feels pressure like his son is burning out. He had another employee that was burning out. So he had two people with the same problem. And so now he started blaming himself. Like, what's it in my business that's causing burnout?
Wow.
So we had to, first of all, remove the guilt and the shame that he was carrying by balancing up his perception and saying, what is the opportunity here? What is the opportunity here? And so then I started working with the son, and we got him to have some health protocols to get his brain back. So we started working on the mindset, we started working on the health, and now we started working on the actual vision and the mission and the values inside of the company so they can be designed, not just happen to them. And what we did, and we identified all the team's real personal values, connecting them, linking them, a linking process that I do to link them to the actual values of the company.
Wow.
Now they are seeing how they're on the way rather than in the way. And here's a critical component. We all have values. There are high values and lower values, right? Things that we value more and things that we value less. When we spend our energy and our time and our focus on things that we value the most, we are highly productive, highly energetic, highly focused, and we feel fulfilled. And the more time we spend on things that are unfulfilling, that drains our energy, we get depleted. And the son was spending his time doing activities that was very, very low in his value system.
Wow. So that's why he was getting drained.
Yes.
Wow.
Right? So it's a strategy, a protection mechanism from your brain to get away from having to do the stuff that you hate doing. So I said to him, we got to stop the activities that are not high productivity activities for you and have you focus on the things that are highly productive, where you gain energy rather than being depleted by energy. And one of the things that we didn't talk about yet, but it was a sales process. He loves the sales process. Wow.
Look at that.
So he loved the sales process, right? But he was not spending time there. So he was spending time doing all the other stuff, all that administrative work that he didn't love doing. I said, you have all these other people on your team. Let's get them to do what they love doing, and let's get your son in the position of actually doing sales, interacting with people, connecting with them. And we started changing it. So the power of that is that he was able to go full time rather than being,
part-time,
right? Trying to not work. And now they're on the path of literally 10xing their revenue.
Wow.
So it's very, very exciting. So,
and it was all a shift from like you say, high activities that you're really good at, that you enjoy, on doing stuff that you don't really like. And this happens for business owners. There's so much to do in the business, but you got to prioritize what you love, what you enjoy doing, so you can stay on that high frequency, right? And delegate the stuff that you don't like to do.
Yes.
And find somebody that loves doing those things. Wow.
Yeah.
So if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to yourself when you were living in your van?
When I was what?
When you were living in the past, when you were starting in this.
Yes.
Go back, right, in time, what advice will you give to yourself when you were starting this journey as a business advisor?
Yes. Beautiful question. So I would say that the first thing is to make sure that you're investing in yourself, which I did that. But the thing that I was missing and that I didn't realize back then was that I was putting so much time trying to play every hat, doing everything, and not finding collaborative relationships, not collaborating quickly enough, fast enough, and seeing how I could actually build collaborative teams to fulfill on my mission and be able to help other people fulfill on their mission. I was so stuck in thinking that I had to do everything myself and thinking that I was the only one who could be doing it. So when I started to structure and realize, hey, there's a way that I communicate. There's a system of how I say things. There's a system of how I sell things.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can document that and capture it, right, what we would call like SOPs, right, standard operating procedures. If I were to capture that stuff and be able to inspire others to join my mission and to be able to help them fulfill their mission,
mm-hmm.
then I can move more rapidly.
Mm.
I would probably save myself, I don't know, probably 10 years. 10 years of unnecessary friction. Unnecessary friction. Like even when I had my martial arts schools, I was the only teacher.
Wow.
I was teaching and training 8 hours a day. Like physical,
yeah.
Right? And so like why? Why didn't I just like bring in other instructors and run the business? Because I thought, hey, I'm a world champion. I'm the one who's going to teach. I'm the guy. And it cost me a lot of energy and time and productivity. And it cost me revenue.
Mm. Satori, I know that you have heard this question before, but I got to ask it. What does 10X means to you?
I love it. To me, 10X means expansion. It means, big thinking. It means an everlasting growth, right? An everlasting, consistent growth and improvement. Like there's no limits. There's no stopping it. Every level becomes the next level. Every floor becomes the next ceiling, and so on. It just keeps growing.
It's infinite.
Yes, infinite.
It's crazy how that works because like you mentioned, it never stops because once you're about to hit that 10X goal, then you're gonna 10X it again, and then again and again. And that's where I see that we get to use our imagination.
Yes.
Anybody out there listening, what was the last time that you used your imagination? Like to go and imagine things without any limits.
Yeah. No, don't think so big. No, you cannot think that big. No.
But that's what they teach us, unfortunately.
Yes.
I remember now, in this time of my life, I learned that being extraordinary is actually a great thing.
Yes.
When I was growing up, they were always telling me, stop being so ordinary. I say, what? But it goes like that, it's all about that person that you need to become and keep, like you say, investing in yourself, in becoming always a better version of yourself. Satori, we get into the end of the talk. I want to say thank you for your time, your knowledge, your expertise, your insights. I'd like to close the podcast with a quote. Would that be okay with you? Just to provide value. So here we go. From page 8 to 985. From page 9 to 85. You pick a number, Satori.
70. 70.
Let's see. Wow. By the way, this was not planned. But this quote right here, it goes along of everything that Satori has shared with us today. Thinking big takes the same amount of effort as thinking small.
Wow.
We didn't plan this, though. We didn't plan this. Thinking big takes the same amount of effort as thinking small. So what is your choice? Right? Look at that. I love that. Satori, before we get wrapped up, how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more? How can you help them the most? A strategy session? How can they find you?
Yeah, beautiful question. So you can find me on satorimateu.com. I have the same on my social media handles, satorimateu.com. Sometimes it's hard to maybe spell my name, but Satori is very easy, Satori. Mateu, Mateu.com. And I'm happy to have a conversation, share some insights, maybe have a conversation, see where you're at in your business, where you need to fill the gaps. And that's it.
I love it. Well, again, Satori, thank you for your time, knowledge, expertise. Always wishing you the best of success, health, and wealth. And let's go help more people to become
Let's
the
do it.
best of themselves. Thank you.
Let's do it. I love it. Thank you so much. Appreciate being here, and I hope this was valuable for everybody listening, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.